Strategist for the Google Developers Group Galway. I'm a third year computer science student in NUIG, and this is my colleague Deirdre here, and I'll let her introduce herself to you.
Hi guys, my name is Deirdre and I'm a second year computer science NUIG student. I'm also a Women Tech Makers lead with the Google Developers Group, and I'm also a WIT scholar with Intel Ireland. So back to you.
Right, so the Google Developers Group in Galway is a volunteer organisation where we try to promote tech in Galway. We're really enthusiastic about all the technologies and we just want to spread them out to as many people as possible. So we do monthly events. Our one for this month is based for the young people, because you're going to be the next people with the tech jobs, building the future. So this is for you to find out exactly what a career in tech is all about. So we're going to introduce the speakers to you now. So googly fact about each person as well as they come up. My googly fact is that sorry about that.
We're just kind of winging it at this point.
Yeah. So my first googly fact is I do Muay Thai kickboxing. So
I can speak 4 languages, but I also know Irish Sign Language, which kind of counts as another language. And also computing languages, I don't know, whatever you count as it.
Alright, so our first speaker for this evening is Jillian Kozyra. Is that? Yeah, from Google. She's a search quality analyzer in Google. And so if you could introduce yourself and let us know a googly fact about yourself.
Hi, I'm Jillian. If you can't tell from my accent, I'm American, actually. So, yeah.
So second up we have Fidelma Wallace, talent acquisition manager from Codec-DSS. So, and just introduce yourself and facts about yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Fidelma and I'm the talent acquisition manager with Codec-DSS. We are a privately owned Irish company and we have offices in Galway, Dublin, Belfast, Cologne, Warsaw, David help me if I missed out on one, and Cork. And I'm delighted to be here this evening. A googly fact about me, I was going to say something boring, but I'm a twin and I'm married to a twin.
Right, so next up we have Claire Gallagher, now no longer a graduate software developer, but a full software developer from Hewlett Packard Enterprises in Galway here.
You're just going to have to shout them, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, so my name is Claire Gallagher and I'm a software developer at Hewlett Packard Enterprise here in Galway. Googly fact about me is I have an abnormal obsession with cats. My desk at work is covered in cats and I have my own cat at home.
Alright, next up. Next up we have Caroline O'Dowd from Blue Tree Systems. So if you'd like to introduce yourself and a fun fact about yourself.
Sure. My name is Caroline O'Dowd. I'm the HR manager at Blue Tree Systems, which is an Irish company based in the Dagenham Business Park. We also have offices in a few different locations around the world. A fact about me is, unusually for an Irish person, I have no first cousins.
Very good. So next up we have Valerie from Triangle. So if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Valerie. I'm a little bit under the weather, so excuse this snuffle. So I'm an enterprise mobility specialist. So I suppose what that means for you guys is that when you enter the workforce, the workplace will be designed for you. Because at the moment, I imagine none of you know life on a smartphone. But a lot of organisations in Ireland at the moment aren't built for mobile devices, so that's what I do. Bring those out. And a googly fact, I suppose I'm quite spiritual. Originally it was kind of a stress management tool, but it's actually been very good for my career.
Great. And finally we have Josephine Griffith, lecturer from NUIG.
Hi everyone, and thanks for coming this evening. So I lecture on 2 degrees that we offer at NUI Galway, and also research in the areas of information retrieval and linguistic analysis. A googly fact about me, probably if I wasn't here this evening, I would be at home flicking stations between Champions League and Great British Bake Off.
So I'd just like to send an extra thank you to Jillian and Valerie who travelled all the way down from Dublin to join us this evening. So an extra thank you to them. So we're going to start our first discussion for the evening and I'll hand you over to Deirdre for that.
Hey guys, you gotta bear with us a little bit here. It's the first time we've done it and there's a few little run-ins, so we're just gonna, if you guys don't mind, we don't mind either. So we're going to start off with something hopefully you guys will be interested in. We're going to have a little bit of a panel discussion about how all our speakers first got into tech and their careers and any jobs they had before their current jobs. So pay attention, take notes, there might be a quiz at the end, there won't be. So we kind of have it broken into a few different sections. We're going to talk about like careers and stuff, we're going to talk about maybe tips and advice that you guys might find relevant. And we'll also have Q&A sessions. So the way we're doing it is in about 20 minutes, you guys will see a URL at the top of the screen and you'll be able to submit a question and ask it that way. It's a little bit better than waiting for someone to stick up their hand. So think about that while we're going on with our talk. Yeah. Anything I forgot?
We have prizes for questions.
Oh, we do have prizes, yeah. So make sure you think of a really good question. I'm not the judge of that, but sure, think of something interesting.
Right, so go on to the first one now for the education.
Alright, so first of all, we're going to open this up to our whole panel. We want to know what you guys did, not so much in secondary school, but maybe what your first degree was, and if you went on for higher degrees. And anybody want to talk about this? Anybody inclined to start off? Yeah? Do you want to start, Jillian?
So I was raised in America. I started off in university. I really liked humanities, but I also really liked science, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I ended up double majoring, and I started off double majoring in Russian and physics. And I picked Russian because I thought it was cool that it was a different alphabet. And I picked physics because it was the only thing that really challenged me in high school. And then like 2 years into physics, I realized I didn't really like physics very much anymore, and then I switched to CS because I liked making things, and making things is fun with CS. And also, if you're like a slightly lazy person, which I am, you can build stuff to do other things for you, so then you don't have to actually do work. So I ended up with a double major in computer science and Russian, and a minor in math and physics. And then I decided I wanted to move abroad, and I ended up living in Poland for 2 years, and I got a master's degree in Eastern European Studies with a focus in game theory.
Cool. Wow. Fidelma, do you want to talk about it?
I don't want to talk after that because it sounds so random. What can I make up? Right, I left, I'm from Galway, and just
Sorry.
feel like I'm about to sing a song. I'm from Galway, and I went to NUIG. And to be honest, when I finished my Leaving Cert, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I love talking, and I didn't really think I could build a career in talking, but because I didn't know what I wanted to do, I decided to study a BA in NUIG. And again, finishing my BA in economics and Soc and Pol, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I loved college life, and so I wanted to stay in college. I did 2 postgrads, one in business studies and then the following in marketing, and I decided that my career was going to be in marketing. And when I first started off my career, I began as a marketeer, and after really about 5 years, I decided I wanted to become involved in recruitment. And the first day I became involved in recruitment, I absolutely loved it, and I knew this was something that I really wanted to do. So since then, I've worked in recruitment, HR, talent acquisition, all in Galway. I set up my own company as well for a number of years in interview training and CV preparation. And anything to do with this field, I'm really passionate about. But if any of you are out there are not sure of what you want to do, don't worry, because I had no idea, but I'm really delighted I found this career because it's something I'm really passionate about.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. So I suppose after the Leaving Cert, I really found that my focus or strengths were in the science and maths area, but I had no idea what path my career wanted to go down. So my best option at that time was to go for kind of a general course. So I went for a general science or undenominated science here in NUIG Galway. Through that, I started off doing chemistry, biology, maths and physics in first year, and after every year I could drop one of those subjects, so I ended up specialising in physics. I really enjoyed that. But kind of coming towards the end of final year in physics then, it got pretty tough, and I decided, oh, I don't know if I want to work in this area or continue education in that area. So I decided to look at other options, and there happened to be a postgraduate course in NUIG Galway, and it was a conversion course, so you could come from any discipline into software development. So I thought, okay, this looks pretty good. I had done a little bit of coding in physics, so I knew what it was like, and I kind of have a logical brain and like problem solving, that kind of thing. So I went for the master's, 2-year master's in software design and development. So the first year of that was taught programs, so you're doing various modules and exams and assignments. And then the second year of that was one whole research project. So for the second year, I luckily got a college internship with Hewlett Packard at the time, now Hewlett Packard Enterprise. So I spent a year doing an internship there and writing my thesis on the project I was working on. So that's how I ended up in IT and HPE.
So, is it? Yeah. So for Caroline, Valerie and Josephine, can you guys tell us a little bit about, not so much your education maybe, but how you progressed from after you got your degree and then to what job you're currently at?
Sure. My degree was in law and French, and after that I trained to be a solicitor in a law firm in Dublin. And when I qualified, I worked for a year in an American law firm in London. But I hated it, I really didn't like it at all. So I left, which was a big decision after all that years of school and training. And I came to Galway actually and did a master's in HR. And then I ended up going to the States, to Silicon Valley, to California, and I worked for Yahoo in Sunnyvale in their headquarters. And that was great for me because I knew I wanted to work in HR. I had my qualification, but I didn't have much work experience. So they had a huge, which was a huge HR department of nearly 300 people. So they had people doing jobs that I'd never even heard. You know, they had a whole department of people who were looking after compensation, for example. They had people looking after visas. So it was really interesting. So that was, it was a big change to go from law to HR. So I suppose if I was to get a lesson out of that for you guys, is that you might start off doing something, and that's fine, but you probably end up doing, the likelihood is you may change down the road, and that there's nothing wrong with that, and it often works out a lot better than you might think.
So for me, I grew up, I was supposed to be a solicitor. My mum was quite clever, where she gave us all professions when we were kids, so it meant that we worked really hard towards that. And it came to the change of mind in CAO, which maybe some of you have gone through, or that you will go through, and I panicked. So I said, I just want to do something interesting. So I ended up doing a degree in contemporary culture and society, which is in the area of humanities. And when I left college, I didn't really know what to do because, what's contemporary culturalist? If you kind of go to college and you're to be a solicitor, you pop out a solicitor. So I got a graduate role in an IT recruitment company, so I didn't know anything really about technology, barely knew what recruitment was. But inadvertently, I spent the first 19 months of my career speaking to engineers all day, every day. Learning about what they did, what companies they worked for, and then also working with those companies to see why people really love working in technology. And I kind of niched because the concept was that you build a business within the business, and I niched in the area of DevOps, and that's actually how I got to know Dave and Caroline as well, actually, from that. I had my own kind of boutique recruitment company for about 18 months, and needless to say, it didn't work. But I think that's one of the really cool things about the whole tech space, is that failing is cool. You know what I mean? You're encouraged to just keep trying things. You know, if you don't break something, there's something wrong with you. And then after that, I ended up in Triangle, where I suppose because I'd taken that risk, you know, it was kind of a launch pad for me, that I'm now in a company where I've got completely free run of the place to, you know, do what I want in terms of bringing in new systems, to try and modernise it, as well as, you know, obviously working with enterprise buildability, which is the core of what I do.
Okay, I suppose my interests were always along the lines of wanting to teach and wanting to continue to do research, and so I was, I suppose from my undergrad, when I completed my undergrad, I was interested in pursuing an academic career. And I guess I was fortuitous at the time when I was looking for positions. It was a time when there was quite a boom in terms of new courses, new undergrad courses, and a lot more people choosing those courses. And luckily there was a lot then of lecturing positions, or at least some lecturing positions available in comparison to what there might have been. And so I eventually secured one of those in NUIG Galway, in the Information Technology Centre as it was at the time. It's now called Discipline, and I've been there since. And I suppose even though the job title stays the same, typically every year there's new challenges, there's new things to learn. And definitely from a research perspective, there is always new ideas and new papers to read and new things to learn. So you're always kept on your toes from that perspective. You can't use just the information that you learned 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. You have to keep up to date. I know that's true in industry as well, but it's true in this position too.
Thanks, all you guys. So, I don't know if some of you guys have questions already. We might open the floor to it, if you have something. So in a couple of seconds, you'll see the URL. Just one thing I wanted to add, Valerie, you said about failing is okay, if you kind of touched off that. Some software engineers always say, and just anyone in the kind of tech business, if you're going to fail, that's perfectly okay if something doesn't work, but make sure you learn from it. And I think you always do learn from it, especially in something like tech, it's always changing. So, you know, don't worry about it if you don't get your first choice in CAO or...
It's also good to fail early.
Definitely. Yeah, fail early. Or don't fail at all, like try really hard, but fail early.
Yeah.
Okay.
The link.
So, just 2 seconds now. If you all have smartphones out and is there Wi-Fi here?
I don't know.
I don't know. If you guys have mobile data anyways, until we figure out the Wi-Fi problem. But yeah, if anybody has mobile data. Alright, you can go to that URL up there and you can type in any question you want. Please keep it clean. I assume you guys will. And yeah, ask anything. We're going to have these after every kind of section. So if you don't have anything yet, just keep thinking about it. Do you want to talk?
Yeah.
So also, if you can post it as anonymous if you want, but if you posted your name on it, we have little prizes here, there's little goodies, USB sticks, you know, the whole lot. So we'll be throwing those out to everyone who submits a good question anyways, alright?
Yep.
So, would anyone want to, does anyone from the floor want to ask a question anyways, just...
If the Wi-Fi is not working.
Just it says, or if you know, if you don't want to wait for the phone to come up, you would like to ask the speaker directly. Yeah?
How did you know that you were going to keep doing that job? How did you know that you weren't going to stop, that you were going to keep going on and progressing over your job?
So, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, I can get to the mic.
Oh, great.
Work for a second. Who is it?
How did you know that you were going to be like in the same job progressing? How did you not know that you were going to stop completely and or change jobs or just not bother? Like how did you keep progressing?
So does anyone want to answer that first or?
Yeah, Jillian. I would say that I don't know right now. I've been in my current job for 2 years. I had another job before that. I think with our, like, I guess I'm your generation technically, it's pretty common that people change jobs a lot. I think in Google you see people stay like, you know, a lot of people who are hired now stay like 2 to 3 years. And they just keep changing. And sometimes people go to other big companies, sometimes they go to startups, sometimes they found their own startup. And, you know, everybody just sort of follows what they feel they want to do at that particular time. And I don't think there's a set course anymore.
Anyone still like to take that now? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, all I can say is my job is always changing. I started off in HP as an intern, and then for the past year I've been doing a graduate program, and now I've finished that and I'm just a software developer. So my role is always changing. Every couple of months we work on different projects, and then we've even gone through a company change. Last year we were known as Hewlett Packard, doing computers, laptops, printers and software. And then in November last year we split into 2 companies. So I now work for Hewlett Packard Enterprise, which is just the software and services side of it. So there's always change. Any career in technology, there's loads of change.
And would you just explain what the other half of Hewlett Packard now is and what they specialise in?
Yeah, so the other half of Hewlett Packard is HP Inc. now, and they do manufacturing of computers and laptops, printers, which you're probably more familiar with as well.
I might just come in there. I suppose a trend that we see in the university is that, you know, a large proportion of our students are coming directly from leaving cert, but we do get a lot of people who've had a career, maybe for 10 years, maybe more, and they come back and might choose something completely different. So that's maybe an option that used to be open to a lot of people, but definitely in the last 5 years we see that trend a lot more. So you don't, as other people were saying, you don't have to decide now what's the career for your entire life. You can do something and then you can change, a huge change if you want to in 10 or 15 years or whatever you feel like a change.
Anyone else like to answer that, or?
Do we have any other questions in the audience? Anybody else?
Yeah, I think I have a question.
Yeah.
So maybe do anybody of you thinking about get PhD? No? What do you think about it?
I considered it when I was coming out of college. In the US, PhD programs are like 5 to 7 years. So when I was 21, I didn't want to commit to spending the next 5 to 7 years of my life in one university in one place. I decided to go to do a master's instead because it was shorter, and then life happened, and I just sort of ended up on this like winding path, and the PhD never happened. But that doesn't mean that I still don't think about it from time to time, and I would consider still doing it.
Anyone else like to have a go at that?
I mean, it depends on your individual preferences. Some people are happy after 4 years to leave and to get a job, to get some money. Doing a PhD directly after your degree for 4 years, even though a lot of scholarships exist, give you a little bit of a stipend, it's still, you know, you're not earning as much money as you would if you had gone directly into the marketplace. So it depends on your own sort of interest, I suppose, if you want to do that. We see, I suppose, 2 types of students doing PhDs. There might be students who want to do a PhD but still have a plan to work in industry afterwards, or the ones who do a PhD and they want an academic career. And you sort of know maybe when you're getting to your final year if you want to do it and if it's right for you. And sometimes the financial aspect plays a role. So if you get some funding, you might do it. If you don't, you don't at that point in time.
Now, I believe we have one question from the...
Someone's actually used our URL. Fantastic. It's all a work in progress. You guys are actually like guinea pigs. We're doing the testing on you, sorry to say. At least it's working.
If you could change careers, what would you change to and why? So this is a very question. Maybe would like to take it first, or be... Yeah, Valerie?
I'd write just all day, every day.
Yeah.
What would you write?
Poetry, articles, anything like that. I'd definitely be a writer now.
Anything to do with tech, or just like
Yeah, well, I suppose my writing at the moment is maybe to do with tech.
Sorry, can you hear that down the back?
Hello? Hello? Oh, no,
Oh, there we go.
So sorry, do you want to repeat that again? I don't know if you heard you down the back there.
No, just saying that would be a writer. And it's actually through technology made me realise how much I loved it. Because I just had to write copy and write articles. And because when it comes to kind of sales and marketing, it's all about the words that you use and the feelings that you can evoke from it. It just kind of came from there then afterwards. So.
I would probably, if I wasn't involved in this career, I'd be a life coach, and it's something that it keeps coming back time and time again to me, in that I feel that I use it throughout my own work, but I suppose that when I first started in my career, I remember telling somebody I just love helping people, and I suppose I'm helping people get jobs now, which is one way of looking at it, but life coaching is something I'm very, very interested in, and I like upskilling myself in. So that's...
It's a good question. Can the real Tom O'Connell please stand up? Or at least put your hand up. It's for a prize. It was a good question.
Any more questions from the audience for our next section?
We might move on then.
Yeah, we'll just move on. So
you guys can ask the question the next go.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Alright, so we're going to have a quick break now from the panel. We're going to have Emer Fanning, an associate of software engineer from Fidelity here in Galway. She's going to show you a little app she's made for the web, a little game you can all view on your mobile and interact with it. She'll show you all the workings behind it.
Hi everybody. I'm going to assume that most people haven't much experience with programming at all, but safe to assume? Yeah, good. That's a good thing.
As hands up, anyone here in secondary school who has done coding before of any kind? Great. What languages have you done?
We've done it in computers in first year.
Yeah? Do you know what language it was? Was it JavaScript or C?
I can't remember.
Fair enough.
Something cool anyways.
Yeah. Anyone else?
C# and Go and C.
Oh wow. Done plenty. I know the saw a few ones going up there.
Anybody else
No.
do anything different? C#, C?
Yeah, I coded a bit.
Are you in secondary
C#,
school?
C++.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did so.
Nice.
Right.
Okay, so a lot of the internet is built using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, so they'd be the main languages that you'd use. So I've built a really simple app, little quiz app that uses the 3 languages. I'm going to show you how it works in the background. So basically, I'm just going to select an answer, check it, and there's only 5, so don't worry. And at the end, it'll give you a score. So the interactions are built using JavaScript. So JavaScript is a really important web language right now, and it's becoming more and more widely used and more popular. So, for example, your Facebook app that you use on your phone is built using the JavaScript framework, as is Instagram. So it's not going away, and it's pretty powerful. fine. I can show. It's fine.
I think it's working, is it?
Okay. So first off, we have our list of questions, and when you want to pass data to your computer, you need to do it in a really specific way. So
Sorry.
Okay. So this data structure is called JSON, and it's widely used with JavaScript. So here you can see we have an array. An array is basically just a list of objects, and each one of these objects represents a question in our quiz. So they're called key value pairs. So this is a key, and this is the value. And the computer uses the key to access the value. So when you're writing your code, it's the key bit is the bit that you're interested in to get your data out of. So here we have things called variables. A variable is just basically a little place to store your data. Here we have an index, and index is a term that you'll see used all the time in programming. And what it usually refers to is the position on your list. So for example, index 0 is the first object in our list. And that's one thing that a lot of people find confusing when they first start programming, is that computers start counting at 0. So if there are 5 objects in our list, they'll be at positions 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's a common area where you'll make mistakes, but you get used to it after a while. So here we have a variable, or a little place to store our score and progress. And then this variable, which is the number of questions, is the length of the array minus 1. And we're going to use that to figure out when we get to the end of our questions that we want to stop and calculate the score. Okay. So here we're just saying when the page is ready, we're going to call these two functions. The best way I've ever heard functions explained is they're just like little minions that you write, and it's just a little helper, and you give it a set of instructions that it will perform for you over and over again. So the important one here that we want to look at is make new question. So this function, we're going to give it our index, which is 0. And all we're saying here is go to our list and get the first question out of it, because our index is now 0, and then do the following. So you see here, current queue.question. We're just saying, go and get this text. And here we're taking our correct answer and incorrect answer, and we're just assigning them all into little pieces of memory that the computer can work with to create our question. And then this is where the question gets added to the page. So just, I'll pop in here to the HTML file, and you can see here that it's completely empty because we're using the JavaScript to add the question. And in that way you can make really powerful interactive web applications, because you don't need to write anything in, you're just going to use your minions or functions to go and do all your work for you. So that's what we get when the first question runs. It goes to my list, takes the first object here, and creates that question. Okay, so this button is probably the most important button in the little app because it does most of the work. So you have to select an answer, and this is what it does. So in the background, what that's doing is this is our check answer button here, this piece of code. And when we click on that, here you can see click, it's going to go and get your answer. So whichever input little radio or little circle that you've selected is going to get the value, whether it's correct or incorrect. And if it's correct, we're going to call these little functions. If it's incorrect, we'll call these little functions. And if not, as you saw, it's going to tell you to select an answer. So if your answer is correct, we call the update score function. And what this does is it just adds 20 onto our score. So plus equals is kind of shorthand for score plus the score plus 20. And then we're going to show our feedback, which is, that's correct, good job. Or incorrect. That's probably a good compliment. I think that's right.
Anywhere at all, Ryan, just put it on
Okay. There?
this sheet.
Right, so when we get to, so when we've counted through all of our list, so we've counted through all of our list, our index will match our number of questions in the count. And will enable this calculate score button, which is going to calculate your final score at the end. So here you can see we've saved added 20 on every time you completed a question, and we'll add this into the box at the end. So here. So this gets added on here. So that's it really behind a little question or little question and answers games like that. You just have lots of little minions doing little tiny individual tasks, and you can get one task to call another task, and it just all builds up to make a little tiny application.
Some of that might look like gobbledygook to you guys,
Most of it looks like
but it does show how something as basic as like the apps you're using on your phone or any website you ever interact with just have so much writing behind them, and yet it's kind of simple at the same time. But it means you can make absolutely anything with code. So if you guys are into making stuff, like, it doesn't have to be engineering, it doesn't have to be making physical things with your hands like cars and computers. You can actually just program a computer to do whatever you want.
You know, and if you don't want to wait till university to try out all these things, there are loads of free courses online. You know, I'll give you a hint of, oh, will I like this, will I not? You know, and it'll also give you an advantage as well when you go into college that you have some background of code behind you. Like, I know when I was in secondary school, I did a JavaScript course on Codec-DSS. That gave me a huge help starting into college. So it'll also give you an indication of, you know, will I be into this or not? You know, start from very simple things and build up. So there are a few things online if you just search for them.
Yep.
Yeah, Codec-DSS is really great resource if you just want to get a feel for it, and it's literally complete beginners, so it's really accessible, and it's all online. And for something like this, you don't need any special software. Like, you literally, you have a text editor, it comes with your laptop, and it's literally get going like from the start, which is nice.
Okay. So we'll go on to part 2 of our panel discussion.
Just something first beforehand, I think it's a nice part. So I know a lot of you here are probably interested, taking that you're here and going into IT or tech courses or engineering courses in Galway or outside, but just for now, I'd like to invite Josephine to just speak to you about the various courses we have on offer at NUIG, you know, in technology fields and engineering fields. So if you'd like to take that now.
Okay, so there's quite a few offerings within NUIG Galway in terms of computing degrees. So you could, if you're very sure that you want to get into a computing area, you could take a full-time, almost full-time computing degree. But if you're not as sure, there's other options. So for example, you can do IT through arts, where you would take IT as one of your subjects and the second subject. And that's often a good way to test if you like IT, because it's not your full degree. There's also options where you can do computing with business, you can do computing with electronic engineering if you prefer the more hardware side with the software side, and also computing with maths. Okay, so there's lots of different flavors of what you can combine computing with. In terms of the information technology and where I work, the two main offerings that we have at an undergraduate level is the GY 350, which is a 4-year honours degree, a BSc in computer science and information technology. And that's the degree and that both Deirdre and Emma have registered for at the moment. And we have other people as well who have come through that degree successfully, very successfully. I suppose the focus there is software design and development mostly, so you learn how to design systems and build systems. A large focus then on programming languages, especially in the earlier years, year 1 to 3, and then in your final year, in 4th year, we do more advanced subjects like artificial intelligence, like machine learning, like information retrieval, so how search engines work, for example. Another important component of that degree is your work placement, your professional experience placement. And that happens in 3rd year, and you go to, there's lots of different companies that are on board, and you have a placement with one of these companies from January up to August. And it's a really positive experience generally for students. They get to work on real projects. You're not given toy projects, it's real projects that the company need, that the team need. Depending on the company that you go to, you might move through a number of different projects in that time. The other degree then that we're involved with is the IT through arts, which is GY 100. And with that degree, you apply through general arts, and in 1st year you pick 3 subjects as you do in general arts, and one of those could be IT. If you like IT in 1st year, you can continue with it in 2nd and 3rd year. And so in arts, you have 2 subjects in 2nd and 3rd year, and IT can be one of those subjects. So because you're just doing 3 years generally in a BA degree, you do cover less material in terms of computing subjects, because you're only doing half your degree essentially in computing. But often what students do is they do the 3-year BA degree. If they like computing, they want to work in the computing industry, we offer a higher diploma in software design and development. So a lot of BA graduates would do that 1-year add-on essentially, which is a quite intensive year. Software design and development is the focus throughout the entire year, and then at the end of that year, which is still year 4, so it's kind of equivalent to 4 years of your BSc, CS and IT degree, you're coming out with qualifications that are sufficient to get a job in the industry. Okay.
Can I
take
ask
any questions on that if you want to get specific?
Let's see, is this working? Can everybody hear me?
This is terrible because now I can move around. And I really like moving around. Yeah. So, just on what Josephine was saying there, I want to ask all you guys, I want you to interact, okay? You guys have to put up your hands here. Because I'm sitting down, I've had like a couple hours of lectures, you guys are in school and work and whatever. So, answer my questions, please. Who likes maths? I like you. Put your hand up higher. Come on, be proud that you like maths. I love maths. It's brilliant. Who likes science? Any science? Cool. Who likes English? Just have your hand up for everything. That's not fair. Who likes history? French? German? Okay, is there anyone who doesn't like anything? No? Okay, great. Alright, so I'm glad you guys have an interest in something. Like for me it's maths, and I do maths every day in my course, which is fantastic. It might be fantastic for some of you. But yeah, you guys like science as well. It sounds like you kind of have the potential to be pretty good engineers, we'll see. So we're going to talk about
a few tips for how to get into it as well. We want to let you guys ask any questions you guys have. You can ask Josephine, she's the one who knows all the answers. You can ask any of our panelists because they all sat here probably at some boring tech talk one day where they had to figure out what they want to do with their life. You know, I know that sounds daunting, but don't worry, we're all figuring it out. So get ready with your questions and we'll talk about a few tips for you guys while you're thinking about it, alright? So back to our panelists. Is that okay?
Okay, so the first thing I want to cover on this section is the roles. Like we've ladies here from so many different, you know, jobs and different parts of the industry. So like if I could ask Nicole just to go over like your daily tasks, you know, what is involved in each of your roles. So anybody like to take that first? Great.
I'll talk about now, my role was more HR generalist before the last number of months. But we'll say, I'll talk about my role now, what it's involved in. So I am purely focused on talent acquisition, and what that means in very simple terms, sounds very glamorous title. But it's what it means is that I hire technical people to join our company. And talent acquisition is a fairly new term to the industry. Traditionally it was more known as recruitment, but talent acquisition is much more than just hiring people. It's improving the branding of the company. It's giving the company a personality in a very congested industry. The internet has been very, very exciting, but also with it, it's become very congested with companies and company names being thrown at you all the time. So it's difficult to remember every company. So rather than just reading text about a company on a website, tech companies in particular are now having a bit of fun. And so what they do is that we can provide more information about ourselves, whether that would be a recruitment video that's a bit of fun, or just different initiatives that would make that person want to work for your company. So really on a day-to-day basis, I would hire for a number of different roles right across I suppose, the board. The kind of roles that I'd be hiring for would be dynamic CRM consultants, business analysts, project managers, Hyperion planning consultants, I'm actually just trying to think now, service desk consultants, and software developers. More importantly, there'd be Microsoft Dynamics CRM, and that's because that's one of the things we do in our company. So what I would do is that I would be involved in phone calls with people in Ireland and around the world, and I'd also be involved in talking to our team about these people coming on board. And the second part of my role is more focused on initiatives and ideas about making our company stand out from the crowd.
Great. Carol, I know you've got a chance to speak. What would you like to contribute to this one?
Yeah, sure. So I'm in the same kind of line of work as Fidelma. I work for, as I said, Bluetooth Systems, and I am the only HR person there, so it kind of the book stops with me. A lot of my work, we're expanding a lot, so a lot of my work is also hiring. So just in the last couple of weeks, I've hired 3 software developers at various different levels. But I, as well as the software engineers and senior software engineers, I also hire all across the company, and we have an office in the States. So I hire there, and I also help with our European hiring. We have an office in Stuttgart and also in Meehan. So there's a lot, as you can imagine, involved in the hiring. But I also work in HR, which means making sure that our people are engaged, and that a lot of it will be looking at people's career development, making sure people are getting the training that they need, which is very important in a technology company, but also that we know what our employees want in the short and long term, making sure that they're being reviewed, that they know what their expectations are, that they have goals, and that they're meeting with their managers. And then, HR does get involved as well, where things might go wrong, where there are issues. So there's a lot to it, and it's really interesting. And a great thing about suppose if you didn't want to choose a career in HR, is that most companies have them. So if you wanted to go and work, you know, for Aer Lingus, or you wanted to go for work in a fashion company, you know, a lot of these places have HR, and you can do it all over the world. So it is something to think about.
Now, Jillian, I'm sure a lot of people here are confused as to exactly what a search quality analyst is. You know, so if you could just like describe to me briefly what, you know, like your daily life in Google is like, you know, a few of your jobs.
So my team is kind of a weird hybrid team. We're a mixture of technical and non-technical people. So you kind of can make the decision to take a more technical path or a less technical path. I'm not a morning person, so I tend to come in around 10. And I work on a lot of projects with people in America, so then I stay quite late as well. So let's see, a typical day would be, in the morning I tend to have meetings and stuff, and I've recently taken the very radical step of putting a do not schedule across most of my afternoons so people can't schedule meetings then, and I use this time for thinking time and coding time. So I am one of the technical analysts, so I mostly write code. But more broadly, my team basically is there to protect users. So when you use Google search and you get a bad result, you can send that to us and we will do our best to fix that problem for you. There's other teams within Google who work like for all the different products. So there's like a similar team that works on ads and a similar team that works for Android, for example, and they all have very specific focuses. So the Android team and the Chrome team tends to be more focused on malware, preventing users from getting malware through Google systems. The ads team tends to try and prevent people from seeing bad ads, like inappropriate ads or ads that are for things that Google doesn't want to advertise, or that violate our policies, basically. So it's a pretty cool thing, and you get to work with a lot of different teams and a lot of different partners. So we have end partners in California, and we have other teams that sit in Tokyo and Singapore and India, and we get to visit them. That's also quite fun.
Yeah, great. So I'm sure none of you noticed here that we have a full female panel tonight. Our kind of aim for this evening is to show that IT and engineering isn't just, you know, like the men sitting in rooms and corners, like, you know, there seems to be a stigma about, you know, so it's great to see loads of girls here tonight. So this is just to encourage you that, you know, this is the industry for everyone. You know, companies are begging for diversity, so it's great to see you here, particularly Taylor's girls in the back represented. Brilliant. So on that note, I would just like to, you know, extend on that note. You know, there has been a gender imbalance in the industry recently. How do you feel that it's played an advantage to you in your careers? And you'd like to answer that one?
I'll just start off. I wouldn't say it was recently. I'd say it was always, like, if you think about the IT industry, it was always synonymous with, you know, the kind of a guy sitting behind a PC coding or developing. But I mean, the IT industry is much more than that, and it's meeting people. It's like business analyst positions and project manager positions are much more about interacting with people than it is about development work. In terms of your question there about females within the industry, we do definitely, I suppose, because I'm hiring, I come across a lot of CVs, and I suppose if you categorise them in the development field, so for software developers, you do tend to see a lot more males applying for the position, and I'm not sure, is it because females naturally, you know, kind of will say aim towards less maths related subjects or not, because I see lots of females here this evening, and I've been interacting with different audiences in this kind of realm before, and I see lots of females, but you do definitely tend to see more male CVs, but I think being a female, just in relation to your other question, it's definitely helped me in my role, because being female, I think I have a caring side. So for you guys out there, you don't. And it's just helped in terms of dealing with employees and dealing, you know, you have to have a good strong intuition when dealing with people, because in meetings you know when to stop talking, when to talk a little bit more, when to, you know, if somebody's really wants to talk about something in particular. So being female, I think that has helped me. But generally, going back to the whole gender imbalance, I do tend to see more male CVs. We've seen lots of female CVs now as well, but just in the development field, definitely more males.
Anyone else along the line? Or? Yeah, Valerie.
So personally, I'd say being a female has been an advantage in my career, and I only say that because I've been quite lucky that, you know, my career is 4 years long, so it's not that long, but I've always had very ambitious people around me, mainly male. And what I've noticed is that I worked twice as hard as them because I didn't believe that I was as good as them, if that makes sense. Because I think one of the problems is that girls don't feel as confident, they're not as willing to maybe take chances and stuff like that. Because of the fact that I was more female, I was a bit more reflective and stuff like that, my career has just shot much quicker than, you know, any of my male friends. So.
Great. Does the panel want to add to that, or will we move on? Great, so just for the audience members here, you know, I'm sure they're probably wondering, okay, I can do my degree and all this, but, you know, what other things can I do on the side? What are some tips I could take on board to really, you know, kickstart my career? If I know I want to do this, what are things I can do on the side now in secondary school or even in my spare time in college? Anyone want to take that one? Yeah?
If you're interested in working in industry and you're interested in actually doing software development, my advice would be to start coding as soon as you possibly can, and to look online and to find open source projects that you can start contributing to, because one of the things that they do look for, like when you start applying to jobs, they always want to see coding samples, and it's like really good to have a broad example of what you can do, and also look at where you want to work and also what languages they're recruiting for, because if you want to work in Google, the Google languages are Python and C++. So like I come from a Ruby background, so applying with a Ruby CV is like not great, right?
Josephine?
One of my suggestions really would be a little bit just broader in terms of our perception, I suppose, of where IT is used and the kind of computing systems that we interact with on a daily basis. So I think one of sort of the advantages, I suppose, or in terms of the history of computing, is that all these apps and systems that we use today, we can't essentially see how they work. So the code that we saw there, we don't ever really see that in terms of maybe our smartphones or when we're streaming our videos from Netflix or streaming music. So it might be just to think in terms of some of those systems that you use every day, even the little maybe recommendation that pops up on YouTube. I wonder how that's working, what's behind that. Because there again might be a perception that there's only certain types of jobs available in this industry, but all of the things you're using every day, someone somewhere created that, someone tested it, and someone's making a new version of it. So maybe just think, how's this working? And what would be a better version of this?
Is anybody into gaming here? You're awesome. I'm going to give you more prizes at the end of this. Anybody into Minecraft? Is there actually? Okay, there's 3 people.
I think the Minecraft trend has kind of crashed as well.
Just when I was getting into it. Alright, well I'm terrible at Minecraft because I'm not a creative person. I go into creative mode so I can fly and then put lots and lots of chickens in blocks and let them fall. It's very complicated. But yeah, the reason I talk about Minecraft is there's a ton of YouTube tutorials about like how to launch a rocket into space and all sorts of things. And like, it's not exactly my cup of tea, but if you think there's so much for that, there's so much for every single game has a playthrough by someone like PewDiePie or whoever. And that's the exact same thing with coding. So if you've tried Code Academy, you don't like it, just search Google anything that you might find interesting, any sort of small project, like making a robot. And you'd be surprised how much you can do with no prior experience, and it doesn't even cost you anything. So if you guys are into that, make sure you look it up after tonight. Could be cool. Yeah. So we might go for a quick break now, where you guys can get drinks and stuff, maybe stretch your legs, walk around, and also we'll open the Q&A again if you have questions to ask. Yeah? Go on, get some drinks before they're all gone.
already prepared beforehand, they might find interesting. So one of them that's definitely relevant to the tech industry is, have any of you got the opportunity to travel within your career, and to where? I think definitely you're a good candidate for this.
So I mentioned earlier that my team has like some teams, I guess, in California and Tokyo and Singapore and India as well. So in the current role, like you can apply to go to any of those locations for like the business justification. So I'm going to California on Saturday, which is quite fun. In my previous job, I did a lot of consulting. So they used to, like, if a customer had a problem with their system and they couldn't figure out how to sort it out, they'd send me there. And I also did a lot of conference talks. So I think I did probably 7 or 8 trips in like 4 months.
Wow. And the rest of anything to?
Yeah. So last December I got to travel to Miami in Florida, partially through my master's and also my internship. So I wrote a conference paper based on my master's thesis, which was a project in HP, and it was kind of in the area of machine learning and predictive analytics. So I submitted the paper to a machine learning conference in Miami and got accepted to present a poster at that. So then HP funded me to go on that trip for about a week, which was absolutely amazing. 3 days on the beach, 3 days at a conference, loved every minute of it. So if you ever get the chance through college or in your work to submit a paper to a conference, I would definitely recommend it.
Similarly, I suppose one aspect of my work is to submit papers and attend conferences. Unfortunately, we don't always have funding to attend them, and they're usually relatively modest in terms of where we can afford to go, but we have gone to a lot of places in Europe with conferences and a few in the US. Usually when you're looking at conferences in terms of wanting to submit a paper, if there is one in Singapore or Tokyo, or Australia, you usually can't submit there because you know you won't have the funds to go. But if you had a lot of funding, then you would get to travel a lot. The opportunity is definitely there.
Alright, so just a show of hands, anyone here in transition year? Expected out the junior cert results tonight. Anyone doing LCBP? Oh great, got a few people. So one question I have particularly for the speakers whose companies are based in Galway, do any of your companies provide any opportunities for SVP or TY students to do 3-day workplaces?
It's not something we have done before, but it certainly would be a good idea.
Yeah, same with HP. I'm not aware of any TY or SVP students, but all I can say is just ask our HR manager at the company. We'd be happy to consider it. Yeah,
because I know when I was in 5th year, I did a work experience in SVP. I went to Cisco just out in Northmore, and I thought that was a great experience just to see what it's like working in, the environment, see all the different meetings, the office, what kind of code you're working on, the team. So like if any of you are doing TUR SVP where you can get an opportunity to do a workplace, and that's definitely something you should look into. So I'm going to go to the questions from the online anyways. There's a few good ones here. So what was the first one here? Sorry.
Has anybody got any questions that they couldn't submit for whatever reason, like with Wi-Fi problems? No? Cool.
Okay, it's from Kieran Keith Kelly. How do you relax after a long day's software engineering? Anyone want to take that one?
I do festing. Do you guys know what that is? Yeah, and I play the fiddle as well. I also am a very big Netflix fan. Like, I would probably spend my entire weekend like watching Netflix, and I bake too. So there's a lot of different things going on. All of them happen while Netflix is going on in the background, though.
Mac or PC, and why? by Brian O'Sullivan. And you have any strong opinions on this?
Well, obviously Mac. I didn't think there was much of a dispute. Although I suppose like Windows 10 and stuff like that is kind of starting to get to Mac standards, but Apple just works. So.
I would say it's a lot easier to develop on a Unix-based system, so it doesn't have to be a Mac, but a Linux. But either one of those is a lot easier than Windows to write code on.
Yeah.
What skills, and maybe not qualification, what skills do employers in the tech industry look favourably on?
Communication, big one.
Leadership?
Aside from the, just communication, because I think it's one of the things that seems to be a little bit lacking when it comes to engineering. So if you can show that you've got communication skills, you work really good in a team, as well as obviously having the computer software skills beside it, then you look very favourably upon.
Leadership and problem solving.
I think in an interview, if you show your initiative, that's a big key selling point, especially for, I think interviews for younger people who are leaving school or just graduating. It's very difficult to try and sell yourself because you don't have a career to sell yourself on. So it's a really good idea to think about initiatives that you come up with, whether that's in college with college projects or stuff you've done yourself outside of college, because an employer wants to hire you. It's people think the opposite. People think that HR managers or recruiters or employers are just there to make your life difficult in an interview, but they do want to hire you. They do want to will you on. So it's really refreshing to see somebody who's enthusiastic and who's got loads of initiative, because you're thinking, I want that person on my team.
I would say as well, particularly in software hiring, someone who can think on their feet. So when we have people in for their maybe second interview, we get a couple of the engineers and have them do a whiteboard session so that we can see how they react, how they, what ideas they have, how they think on their feet. And I suppose so they're not phased, so they can't know what they're doing. So that's I think that applies to life generally. You can keep your cool.
Oh, great. So one of the questions from an anonymous poster was, is it difficult to adapt to constant changes in technology?
I'd say that's something that I've talked to the engineers in Bluetree, and that's what they like about working in technology, and they don't want, a lot of them, some of them have come from big companies where they feel like they're kind of get siloed into working in one particular technology, but most engineers really like the change and they want to make sure they're working on the cutting edge. So I think if you like change, I think that will serve you well.
And one from here from Leanne McKen. What was the most difficult decision you've had to make in your career?
Closing down my company, definitely. Because you kind of pour out your heart and soul into something for 18 months? And yeah, I cried for about 4 days straight. It's like the worst break we've ever had, but say that again.
I would say for me, going to work for a big company, actually, because I never really saw myself at a big company, and when the opportunity came along, I really thought long and hard about it. It sounded cool. I took it. I liked it.
Great. Anyone else? We'll take a question from the floor. I think this girl here again. Great.
What's your favorite part about working with the company you're working with?
So did you hear that? What's your favorite part of working with the company you're in?
Actually, can we get an answer from every panelist about this? Because I'm really curious. So,
I have 3 things. Can I say 3 things? So, one, we have a music group, which is super fun. I can bring my fiddle to work, and I can go there during the day and take a break if I want to. I really, really like that. 2, snacks. We get unlimited snacks. I have a really big appetite. When I first started working there, my aunt was like, you're probably going to put them out of business. And 3, we're allowed to bring pets to work, and a guy on my floor has been bringing his dog recently, and it's super cute. It's like, it makes everybody so happy every time, and it's really awesome. It's great.
Well, again, that's a difficult one to follow. I would say that a good part of my job is that I get to tell people that they're being hired, which is always a nice thing to tell somebody. Secondly, I think that it's quite exciting to talk to people right around the world. It's really varied, and it's exciting to talk to somebody completely at the other end of the world. And I think the third thing that I really love about working in the industry I'm working in is that it's so new and dynamic and it's changing. And within the IT industry, I feel like I'm going on now. But within the IT industry, you have a license to have fun. So, that's what's really attractive about working in the IT industry, is that you can have a bit of fun. So we can have fun in hiring, you can have fun in the work environment. And it's, I think bigger companies like Google have really brought this to smaller companies in Ireland, that it's okay to have fun, it's okay to move the boundaries a little bit, and that's pretty cool to come to an environment where you can have a bit of fun while you're doing your work.
I guess I have to say three things too. So firstly, one of the things that first struck me when I started with HPE was just how massive the company is. It's a huge multinational company, so we've offices in almost every country in the world. I think I was about 3 months into my internship, and I was working one day, and on that one day I spoke with 9 different nationalities, some of them in the office around me in Galway, some of them on conference calls online, but I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And tomorrow morning I have a call with a guy in the Philippines, and then in the afternoon we have calls with America. So I just love meeting all the different people from around the world and seeing their different cultures as well. Secondly, we have a brand new building in Galway, out beside the racecourse in Ballygrit. Just opened it last year. So that's absolutely fantastic to go to work there every day with a gym and a new canteen, super cool desks that go up and down and spin around in the chairs. No, we don't. Then thirdly, I suppose, is the social aspect and the whole community in HPE in Galway. So we have various different groups. We have a YEN group, which is the Young Employee Network. So we have interns and graduates and anyone who's young at heart is on, I suppose, in that group. We have the Sports and Social Club, and we have IWN, which is the Irish Women's Network. But men can join too, of course. So there's always loads of fun events and volunteering opportunities and career development things going on as well.
Caroline? I would say more generally, when I moved from being a solicitor, having to wear a suit and be very buttoned up and conservative, and you very rarely see a smile, unfortunately. And when I started working for Yahoo, I couldn't believe that there was a basketball court and there were people coming to work in their shorts and it's the little things and I think, as Fidelma said, that software companies from the States have made a big change in Ireland in terms of that it's okay, we don't have to kind of all walk around looking very serious, and I think that's great, and that's only been in the last maybe 5-10 years that people have loosened up, and I think you can really be yourself at work, which is something that certainly wasn't the case. Talking to people maybe who've been in the workforce longer, they said you kind of have to put your game face on in the morning and go home and be yourself. So I think it's great for you guys, because you wouldn't even think about that. You just come into work and be who you are. And then, specifically, Bluetooth is a great place to work. It's everybody, really generally gets on very well, which is, you can feel it when you kind of work. You walk in somewhere, you can hear people laughing and joking. And I think it is a good place to work, and it's a good industry to be in at the moment, because we make devices that go into trucks, and they give truck owners and fleet managers a huge amount of data about their fleets. And there's regulation in the States that's coming in next year that means that by federal law that people have to have these devices, and only 20% have them at the moment. So you can imagine the market is huge. So it's nice to be in a company where people actually want your products, and there's a big demand. So it's exciting.
Great. Valerie?
For me, I can't do 9 to 5. I obviously have done it when I started my career, but I'm just not good at getting up in the morning or stopping work at the right time. So it's good that I just have a lot of freedom to, I know what needs to be done. If I get it done, it doesn't matter if I'm in the office or away from the office. And because I'm in the mobile space, I get lots of devices. So I've got like iPads, different tablets, Mac, blah, 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 for when I'm going out and demonstrating it. So I have all of those. And I work with seriously smart people. Like anytime I go into the office and I have a conversation with anyone, I learn something new, or I have a really interesting debate about something, which is just absolutely perfect at this stage of my career.
For me, one factor relates, I suppose, to our students coming in, and for our GY350, I'm one of the first faces that they see on their first day at university, and it's a real sense of achievement when you see those same faces graduating 4 years later, or when you see them further on graduating maybe with a master's or with a PhD. And so that makes you feel you're doing something good when you see that, when you see your class graduating. From a sort of research point of view, because I'm in computing, you get lots of people ringing you up saying, are you interested in getting involved in this project? And you get involved in projects where you don't know anything about the domain at the start. You know the computing side, but you don't know the problem. So some examples of that, a system that we built for beekeepers, and I knew nothing about bees at the start, other than the very obvious things. A system that a student of mine is working on, actually, Emer, who was here, relating to shellfish for the Marine Institute, and a system for trying to automatically look at language, different languages, and see examples of what's polite and what's impolite. And although we all can sort of tell maybe what's polite or impolite, to actually find out what are the linguistic markers for that. And we were working with some people from linguistics, from Italian and French and Irish in the university. And you can never anticipate what's coming around there in terms of those types of projects. And I suppose the final thing is that there is a good bit of flexibility in my job. Also, if you have lectures or meetings, you're expected to be there, or you have 150 students who would be complaining. But otherwise, in terms of a lot of the research work, you can do that in your own time. So if it doesn't suit you to do it in the morning, you can do it in the evening, you can do it at the weekend if you have to go somewhere on a Friday.
Great, would anyone like to ask just one more question for the audience? Yeah.
What are your favorite programming languages and why?
Your favorite programming language and why?
Who feels very strongly about a particular programming language?
I'm not really a fan of Python because I don't like that it enforces white space, and this drives me insane that every time I make a white space mistake, my entire program crashes. So that's the opposite of what you asked.
I like Python. Once I get over the fact that it is a bit odd. But we often have this debate in terms of what programming languages to teach and what's the best language to teach. And so we stick with, I suppose, the standard C and Java mostly, and we have flavors of the other languages as well. And although I would program as well in Java and C, there's something about Python, maybe because it's slightly quirky or slightly different, that I do like that.
I'm going to say Scala. I'm not sure if you've heard of that language. It's derived from Java, and it's fairly new enough. I've only been learning it the last couple of months. But it's always developing, and there's new versions of it every couple of weeks nearly, and it's particularly good in the area of analytics. So I use it with Apache Spark, which is an open source Hadoop framework. So yeah.
Great, well on that note, I'd just like to thank all of you for coming here tonight, and to all our speakers from all the different companies, particularly Jillian and Valerie, who travelled all the way down from Dublin, so just a big round of applause for them, please. So, thank you very much for coming. If you could like our Facebook page, Google Developers Group Galway, you can find out all about our upcoming events, and our Twitter pages, GGG Galway and WTM Galway. Now before you go, we have some goodie bags for NUIG with information about the courses, some pens and USBs. If you ask a question, brilliant, you get a USB, and we probably some spares as well. So great, let's go.
thanks to all you guys for coming after school. Fair play, it was great to see such a good turnout. Yeah. So, come up and get the goodie bag off this guy and just keep bothering him until he gives you one.